Hello and welcome to today's ecosystem talk session, which I conduct together with Fred Kessler. Hello and welcome, Fred, first of all.
Hi, Julian. Thanks for having me.
I would like to set the scene for today's conversation, which has kind of a different format than we do it usually. So what we do is not a traditional interview setting. It's more a conversation, a power conversation about our experiences within Ecosystemizer, within our trainings, within our masterclasses and our projects. And we would like to share with you as the audience a little bit more what we have experienced and of course, where you can learn from, where you should learn from that what we have gained as insights with many companies in these kind of interactions. So starting first of all, of course, with a little bit of introduction, Fred. We have you here today as a long-term partner of Ecosystemizer. And can you please start giving our viewers and listeners a brief introduction about yourself, please?
Thank you, Julian. Thanks again for having me. It's a great pleasure to work with you all through the years. Essentially, I have three roles in my business life. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an academic, and a soldier. As an entrepreneur, I'm self-employed since 1995, have established and sold two firms before I started in 2003 with academy and consultancy. So we have trained more than 20,000 people from more than 1,000 organizations. Currently, the name of the company is Mission Dynamics, and we provide leadership, innovation, sales, transformation, and business ecosystem training and projects. As an academic, I've completed 4 administration studies. I'm lecturing at different universities, and currently I'm a doctoral candidate at Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh about business ecosystems. And finally, as a lieutenant colonel of the German Armed Forces, I'm active in the Ministry of Defense and other parts of the military, which are, of course, restricted.
Wow, that's really a lot. And I think if I'm listening to you, that has a great variety of, let's say, tasks and experiences. And I'm really happy that you share that with us in that context, but of course also in our context. And coming to that, now you have been with Ecosystemizer collaborating for a while. Could you share why you decided to collaborate with us and to conduct masterclasses with Ecosystemizer for and with our clients?
Well, the reasons are simple. First of all, Ecosystemizer is the most powerful framework. I will elaborate on this maybe later. But ecosystems, business ecosystems, simply rule my world. In a family, this is where ecos, household, comes from the Greek word. I'm a father of 3, and this is the platform where everything starts, of course.
True.
And as an entrepreneur, I've learned that all major consultancies, as well as the World Economic Forum, they project tremendous growth. So I've created and joined various business ecosystems, which is quite a funny activity, and I will share more later and it creates more competitiveness and resilience for my own companies, as well as for the companies that I'm working with. And my business is growing remarkably and profitably, and so I'm happy, and that confirms me in the way that I've chosen. As an academic, I said I'm a doctoral candidate, and my thesis is about configuring and launching business ecosystems in the small and medium enterprise world, and I'm lecturing about it. So also there, it's tremendous to see what has happened in the last 60 years since the expression has been implemented by Mr. Moore. As a soldier, I'm embedded in probably the biggest and most powerful business ecosystem. It's called the NATO. It's protecting democracy, freedom, and peace. And I've already created military business ecosystems inside the German Armed Forces and started to create military and civilian mixed business ecosystems. And ultimately, or finally, I'm, as a master trainer and head of partner ecosystems with Ecosystemizer, I think I've experienced from getting to 60 years of academic literature already. So my literature review is checked, but Ecosystemizer is by far the most elaborate framework for business ecosystems. And the methodology gives real good guidance to professionals.
Brilliant. Also, once again, brilliant that you address always these 3, let's say, pillars you're following, you're pursuing in your career and in your current business life. And let's go a little bit deeper into the experiences you have gained within Ecosystemizer in the master classes. So what key insights basically have you gained there when you were training people from various companies? You were talking about especially medium-sized companies. So can you elaborate a little bit on that? And maybe in addition to that, what are actually the challenges you have experienced there, actually, which came out from your clients you were working with? So both of it is interesting. So in a general way, what is there the sense? How far is that topic? What are the people telling you within the seminars, and what challenges do you experience there?
Thank you. Well, that's a huge question, a large
Of course, we are always talking about huge things here.
And when we really need to apply self-criticism. We're working together for 3 years now, and it has been and is always a humbling experience to work with professionals from all around the globe. The content that you've created, or you were a co-creator of, is absolutely great. In the teaching area, we needed to apply a lot of improvements. We needed to learn how to provide easier access for professionals, easy access to the topic. And we were quite academic, and people asked themselves, well, what's in for me? So this is learning number A. Learning number B, we needed to become faster and more comprehensible, and also to give easier access for the guys. Number 3, our case studies in the classes and our assignments that we've given to them need to become more relevant. So from the big world of Apple, Google, Amazon, and you name it, we needed to create more small, medium enterprise scenarios that are more closer to them. And we needed to develop the framework, so really from one end to the other, end to end, from being not sure, shall I join or create an ecosystem, to, well, I can be really successful with it. So one end to the other end. And we need to learn how to give more practical guidance. And last but not least, we really needed to walk our talk. So we needed to create business ecosystems, which also meant failing forward. Not everything works well at the same at the first step or first approach, but all of this together created trust with our community, and the results that we've helped them to achieve, which is the most important thing, is really amazing.
Thanks for telling that, and I totally agree. I mean, I was part of it. Even if you were conducting the sessions, we had many exchanges, and it's absolutely true. I think our strengths, and that's where my thoughts and my background comes from, is, as you said, let's say academic but practice oriented, and the starting point where management frameworks that try to help to explain and drill down the ecosystem world for each business. But that's not the end of the journey. It's just the starting point. And that's also my experience. So that you really need to get closer to the particular business problems, the business needs, and to solve them better with an ecosystem perspective than with a traditional perspective.
So
and
true.
Here we are still ongoing. That's at least my experience. If I just mirror that with the sessions I have done in dedicated corporations, let's say like Bosch, Hewlett Packard, Munich Re or others, when we had managers there asking, hey, what can I do differently tomorrow? It's not about telling them, hey, the future is ecosystem. That's of course one part of the truth, but the second part is, hey, what is your current business need? And is there this ecosystem thinking, this mindset, and also the tools later on, is that suitable to help to solve that? That's
absolutely
at least my 50 cents to that.
It's an ongoing process. You're absolutely right. And we've learned, I think, at least twice as much as they learned while we taught them.
I mean, but that's normal, of course. That's in consulting, but also in training, that you also always give and take, and it's also an iterative development of knowledge. And especially in these fields where we see gigantic changes out there, we see them, and our job to be done is to help to facilitate that. If you start from bottom up within a company, you're included in the processes and in the culture and in the normally narrow company borders. And our unfair advantage with this research and with this, let's say, detection of that industry boundaries are blurring, that we will have new market layouts, that we'll have domains instead of traditional market segments, that we will have to think until the human and that ecosystem oriented and so on and so forth. This is, at least from my perspective, something which is very difficult for people understanding who have to run a business unit or a business function and have operative pressure every day, right? Is it the same also what you're experiencing when, let's say, having conversations or trainings with the Mittelstand, with medium-sized companies? Even more sometimes, right?
Yeah, that's right. One thing I'd like to add, it's how I perceive professionals are approaching ecosystems. There are some crucial problems that we face. Professionals these days approach ecosystem topic in three ways. Number one is they simply don't, which is the most dangerous way to approach it. So to ignore it, be agnostic, because they run the risk of oversleeping the trend. And it is so damaging, or can be so damaging to their competitive and resilience. The reasons are it's too complicated, it's too far away and not juicy enough. So we need to help them to overcome this hurdle and bring themselves closer to the knowledge about it. Number two, they are much too ambitious. They think and act real big. So if we founded a band, so we would go for the stadium, like the Munich Stadium, Alliance Arena, which is, they are failing really hard. They burn a lot of money when doing this. And number three is they think they are already in a business ecosystem like Microsoft. Microsoft tells the partners, hey, we are such a great ecosystem, but it's the opposite, because Microsoft is concreting the partners in silos like stovepipes. And so that makes them very unhappy, and they create a bad attitude against ecosystems, which is probably the most frustrating event.
Nevertheless, but maybe not to go too much into detail, Microsoft for me is a great example on a worldwide level of having had a turnaround, which is really significant, which is absolutely brilliant. When you look at the share price, when you look where Microsoft was and how the company has transformed and now is riding the wave of AI very successfully with an ecosystem perspective. But that are two different things, I think. On the one hand, the global strategy and the decisions they have taken, I think, check, very well done. And let's say the partner management within the region or the countries where there's still a lag between that what we think and we tell our clients how you should have and integrate an ecosystem mindset when managing go-to-market activities, right?
Absolutely true. Yeah.
Well, okay. Can you maybe, I mean, we were talking about clients, we were talking about companies. Do you have a specific success story from trainings where you can share with us, where you have experienced that you really can make a difference with that, what we are doing?
Absolutely. The most present one is from the work with Ingram Micro. When they have a
Can you tell us who's Ingram Micro for all who don't know it?
Ingram Micro is the most powerful distributor of IT services and hardware in the world, with more than 50 billion annual revenue. And well, they decided after talks with us to finance the training, the master classes for their top partners. And out of these master classes, a great ecosystem evolved already, and B, they brought us into their worldwide initiative called TrustX Alliance, where the very well selected partners are about to create an ecosystem which is more powerful than everybody would have thought.
That's great to hear. So it's because it's really tangible already. And I mean, the challenge is always that, of course, this new business development with an ecosystem perspective takes time. And if they at least immediately or soon started the decision to go that journey, then it's definitely the right direction of travel to go. And so really great to hear. No, I like that. We're in a conversation. Any questions from your side?
Absolutely. I mean, there are open items, and you are focused on serving enterprise customers in executive sessions. You are working with Bosch, Hewlett Packard, Munich Re. What are your experience when working with these corporates on the topic of business ecosystems?
First of all, of course, that are just a few names. There are many more, also many more we don't talk about because they often corporates still think in we need an NDA. We cannot talk about what we are doing, even if sometimes it would be better if the public would know what they are doing from an ecosystem perspective to join. Nevertheless, that's also one part. Nevertheless, it's so that I think corporates have unfair advantages. Of course, they have a brand, they have production facilities, they have sales, they have very high-skilled people, and so on, and so technologies, IP, and so on. And they can bring a lot to the table, to the ecosystem table, or to the ecosystem party. And what I'm experiencing is that they don't leverage it entirely, or at least only partly. And I think their courage to start this thinking with a risk perspective, not just with observation perspective, that's what I'm observing, which is kind of normal because corporates are successful, have been successful in the past, at least many of them, because they were very disciplined, they didn't take risks, they were just running their business. And now they are also experiencing that there has to be something after after cutting costs and going through the recession, if we are talking about the current situation. And that means how will be the company and the markets look like after? And so I think they have to do more. And what I'm experiencing, they get the glimpse of what we are doing and they like it, but still, and there we come back to that, what we discussed, which is also one of our things to improve, that we have to bring them closer to the topic, closer to the business and business problems they can solve as quick wins or even quicker than only thinking about the new business of tomorrow. And if obviously it's both, which is important. So that's my experience. So very good feedback in terms of thinking, but still kind of, let's say, waiting time to act. Let's formulate it like this. That's maybe it in a nutshell.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. How do you tailor your consultative approach in this area to meet the specific needs and perspective of individuals from different industries and roles in this area?
I think first of all, and that's very generic, but it fits off obviously for our topic, you really have to find out where's the problem. And is the problem really that they have a lack of knowledge? Then, of course, you can mitigate that by telling them what is new out there and providing them tools and frameworks. Or is it more that their business is declining? And for instance, let's take the tobacco industry or the oil and gas industry, at least to a certain point of time. I mean, always also changing. But these companies and these industries, or sugar and take other industries who are now on the radar for regulators, or basically in this context of climate change or well-being lifestyle, where you have to think about what comes after when my core will decline significantly in the next decade or decades. For them, of course, you have to think about what is the new one, and then we can really help and make the difference to build the new one, to think about the new one, the new business with an ecosystem perspective, because we think, we are deeply convinced that every new business has to be ecosystem components, ecosystem mindset integrated, and it's not the success factor of the future anymore that you just produce products or singular services as standalone offerings and push them into markets. No, you have to turn it around. You have to think about what is the need for the end consumer or for the entire value chain, and then to find your spot and to create offerings. And for them, that's the solution. And then there are many different other questions. And let me just elaborate on one more. Let's take customer experience, which is definitely linked to that, what we call offerings and parts of the ecosystem, which is just delivering that. So the experience is not just the button with the right color and a short access to closing the deal in an e-commerce setting. It's more. It's definitely more. It's the offering. It's the entire customer journey. And it's, of course, also always thinking about what can be next, what can be added to that what a customer needs, whether it is B2B or B2C or integrated. And so the question could also be, how can you improve the customer experience with an ecosystem perspective? And then the business model is just one part. So we just flip it around. And that's one other example where we try to identify more and more the particular challenges we have now currently in further developing your business, and then to really tailor it or tailor our consulting approach with our mindset to solve these kind of business problems. That's maybe a little bit out of the nutshell. Yeah.
So we have talked about the challenges that I've perceived in the small and medium enterprise sector. What are the challenges that you observe with professionals who are facing ecosystem approaches in the corporate sector?
First of all, it's the success of the past, and that if you're just used to it, that your business is running very well, then the question is, why do you have to change? And second, very much a product-centric mindset. Often in the companies I'm collaborating with, you have engineers on the top, but also in the most important decision-making levels. And so they like products, they like to invent something. And this, what we're telling just a few minutes ago about experience, and to think about the experience in a bigger sense, this is something new for them. And apart from that, of course, we have these hype topics of, let's say, AI and sustainability, just to grab two of them. And that are ecosystem topics if you think them to the end. And sometimes the companies are mirroring what they are doing. They are doing ecosystem, but they don't put it in that context, and they can even do more. And for them, let's say, to detect that and to make that clear that also the top topics they are investing in are also or have to be seen with an ecosystem perspective. That's sometimes very difficult because we are talking about challenges, and that's the job to be done for us, but also for them to shift their mindset that also these topics are not just technology driven and not just in the way that it's productivity what you can gain and or in sustainability it's just to cover my ass. It's more you have to always bring it to the business part and to really to create something new and make money out of that. And that is really difficult to change that mindset from a defense or let's say back-end oriented thinking, optimizing your company how it is towards hey, let's do something new, let's create something new. And the ecosystem mindset can help doing that. That's maybe the main issue.
Can you highlight a specific success from your experience as a senior consultant?
I mean, once again, we cannot talk about the clients with names because they don't like it. But what we have done or what we're always doing is we create potentials, sometimes really potentials for billion-dollar businesses, for new businesses, for companies with this ecosystem perspective. Because at the end, of course, we design, first of all, we identify the topics. Then we have a long list on really interesting topics. And maybe as one very concrete example, we had one workshop with the CEO of a European bank, and he was telling us afterwards, hey, actually my agenda was planned before this workshop until 27, and now we can actually extend that until 20 or until 35, so 7 or 8 years longer. So because we had identified so many cool ideas and business models for him with an ecosystem perspective he can implement. So that was for me maybe one very specific example which I really liked as a very good feedback for one of the sessions. But that's not the end, that's not the starting point. So what we do is then to really drill down the top shots, the top identified business models, and to calculate business case, and then to, of course, starting to implement it. But that takes time. But at least to bring companies on this journey and to create potentially billion-dollar businesses, that's for me what drives me, makes me waking up happily every day when working together with these kind of companies. Yeah.
Cool. I have one final question for you. I mean, you are the CEO and creator of Ecosystemizer. What are your next steps? How do you make sure that Ecosystemizer will always be one of maybe the most powerful tool set framework?
First of all, that's a great question. And the quick answer is also we have to further develop. We cannot just, the world is not standing still. So we have to, once again, adapt our frameworks more to specific business contexts, which means, as I mentioned earlier, so how can we bring that thinking and integrate it into the daily business or in the daily innovation and strategy discussions? Of course, we have to tailor it more to dedicated company settings. We were talking about medium-sized companies. Of course, we have to think about how can we adapt that also to specific setups of companies, specific industries. Even if we say industries is the past, people come from industry thinking, and to bring that closer to them, to digest it better, that's definitely a job to be done. And then, of course, I have ideas, and that's the main issue, to make that what we are actually teaching and using on a qualitative way to quantify that. So my dream is to generate like something like the Net Promoter Score, to have kind of an ecosystemizer score and to get something really tangible in terms of numbers, because often C-level follows the traditional EBIT and revenue KPI thinking, which is absolutely necessary and will be last also in the future. But the question is, can we add something there to facilitate this journey of ecosystem thinking also with the traditional manager KPI number quantitative mindset? Yeah, that's basically where I think will be my future in terms of thought leadership development. Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Maybe.
Any final points, items from your side?
Actually, first of all, I really liked it, how we discussed it. It was an experiment also here for the audience, that it was kind of really a conversation. And for me, first of all, I'm really looking forward to go this journey further, also with you, and also because it's absolutely necessary to have, on the one hand, conceptual development, as your last question pointed it out, but you need also you need the experience in the street, in the seminars, also with different types of companies. And I mean, that's why your setting with the army, with academic, but also with medium-sized companies really fits well. You need the corporates because they have the big budgets and they can invest normally more. Sometimes they are then not faster, but at least they can push topics. And this is what I really like to complement this also in the future, this kind of worlds, and to bring them together. That's my vision and my closing comment to that.
Cool. Yeah. From my side, I'm absolutely committed, A, to ecosystems as a topic, B, to Ecosystemizer, and C, to my doctoral thesis. So I will be a little bit committed to the whole area. Thank you for this conversation, and well, talk to you soon.
Yeah, and thank you. And really looking forward also for your thesis. So what we will learn there. Thanks also for joining this. And for the audience, stay tuned. We will come back with some news definitely in the next weeks and months. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Bye.